Masters of the Universe, the Legends of Grayskull podcast.
Legends of Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Shawn Scavarna and Matthew Duke as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride right now.
Hello, everybody. We are back with the Legends of Grayskull. We got a special treat for you today. This is a very special episode. We will be taking a look at Masters of the Universe Revolution, Episode 1, Even for Kings. But before we get into that, I want to introduce my wonderful co-host, Mr. Shawn Scavarna is back again. How are we doing today, Shawn?
I am here. I have been revolted, but I'm still standing.
Revoluted?
I've been revoluted and
I think
diluted.
revolting is different.
I am revolting, though. I am.
You
I
are
will admit
you are
this.
molting. Absolutely.
I'm multi-purposed.
Not only do we have Shawn Scavarna here with us today, but we also have our wonderful off-world shooting the shelf buddies. We got Curtis Ackerman and Jesse Arnold. Curtis, Jesse, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime.
I would say being here is a revelation.
Yes, have some. You want some coffee? Yes, have some.
Yes, have some. Yeah, the podcast is over. Matt's shutting us down now. He's just like, you guys can't even take this seriously.
Hey, it doesn't always have to be serious. Sometimes it can
It
just
doesn't.
be fun. So,
Seriously fun.
we are here. We have all watched Masters of the Universe Revolution streaming right now on Netflix. If you haven't watched it yourself yet, what the heck are you doing here? Pause us. Go watch Revolution, at least the first episode, then come back. Go on. We'll wait.
We're not really gonna wait, right?
No.
Yeah.
We'll be back. All right, guys. Thanks for coming back to us after watching Revolution. I don't know why you were here before, but thanks for being here now. So, guys, leading up here, I know me and Shawn, we've had our episodes. We've had everything leading up. Everyone knows where we stand. We broke down all of Revelation. So I don't think they really want to hear from us, but let's hear from you, Jesse and Curtis. Just a brief, how did you feel about Revelation and how you felt going into Revolution before you watched it for the first time?
You want to go first, Jess, or you want me to?
Sure, I'll go first. I was excited. I enjoyed Revelation. I mean, there were some minor things, some things I would have liked to have seen, just like maybe some of the pacing differently. Overall, I liked the story and enjoyed the animation a lot. I was really looking forward to this new one. I know there's some voice cast got redone or whatever, but it didn't seem to affect my enjoyment of this new season. So I was excited going into it.
Very nice. Curtis.
I enjoyed Revelation. I think I had probably more things that I thought could have been better than Jesse. But overall, I thought the animation was great. I thought the overall story was good. It was just nice to see Masters again. But there was definitely some things that I thought they could have done better. And I really felt going into this, I was optimistic that they would, kind of make some alterations, some changes, some adjustments, as it were. And overall, I think they did. And I was pretty happy with it. So,
all right. And as most people know, I was generally positive going into this. My big fear was that, especially after seeing that first trailer, was that there was going to be too much to handle in 5 episodes. And that was my biggest fear going into these new episodes, is I just thought they were biting off more than they could chew. And that just from what was in the trailer, let alone what we're going to find out was actually dropped in that first episode. Shawn, anything you want to say before we kick off the review?
I would say I was more than cautiously optimistic going into Revolution, and let's just say I was pleasantly surprised after the 5 episodes.
All right, let's get into it then. We've got episode 1 of Revolution, Even for Kings. We're going to go through this scene by scene. I'll read off what happened. We'll talk about it a bit. And at the end, we will give our rating of the episode. So scene 1, Adam and Orko, in an odd Saiyan fusion disguise, travel to Subternia to barter for the souls of Fisto and Clampchamp. When diplomacy fails, it's time for He-Man. Adam transforms and takes on a very Stephen King's It style Scareglow, transforming, taking on the powers of Fisto and Clampchamp. He gets help from Buzz-Off, Snoutspout, Rio Blast, and Andra as they fight off the hordes of Shadow Beasts. With some help from his father in a mech suit, He-Man defeats Scareglow and recovers the lost souls. Teela shows up and is able to help them escape using a light spell to dispel the Shadow Beasts. Scareglow pursues them out of Subternia, but is trapped by a giant H symbol plug in the entrance and topped off with a magical spell from Teela to seal off Subternia, seemingly forever, but no seals forever in Masters. Back on the Andra's new creation, the Cloud Crusher, available now in a toy store near you. The heroes celebrate as Randor gets out of his mech suit. He stumbles and loses consciousness. So, as most of you know, this is most of the fight scene that we saw at San Diego Comic-Con and leaked online before it came out. What'd you guys think of this opening?
who's going what?
Everyone just starts talking as they please.
So I'll throw in. I made notes as I watched it the first time around, and the one thing that I couldn't help but notice is Kevin Smith loves starting series for Masters out where there's a character in disguise that you darn well know who the character is walking into something. And it actually dawned on me more the second watching than the first, because at first I just kind of let everything happen in front of me and I wasn't trying to overly analyze. But when I watched it the second time, I'm like, he did that last time with Faker.
Yeah.
Go figure. So it's now becoming a cliche with him doing that, but at the same time, I like this sequence better than the Revelation sequence with the sorceress and everything. This felt the way that I wanted Revelation to feel. It was legitimately, here is them just starting it out and having a real fun action sequence.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I really felt that the animation was a lot more settled in this one. Like it felt cleaner, it felt vibrant, it felt solid. And yeah, this opening battle is everything I want out of Masters. Like it was action packed. There was real stakes, but at the same time, you didn't have to go like blood and gore, which I don't think Masters needs to go to. No. Like, you can have stakes, you can have action, but it doesn't need to be cussing and blood shooting everywhere.
Nope.
So I thought it was really well done. I did like seeing when Scareglow was talking about his trophies and you see he's got like the diamond ray of disappearance, and
Shakody's
the symbol from the
symbol
tomb.
from the door. Yeah,
he had the clock from Time Trouble, and then that cauldron was from a Filmation episode. So
yeah.
Nice little Easter eggs right off the bat. And Tony Todd as Scareglow.
Yeah,
just
absolutely
fantastic.
The only other thing real quick that two quick things I'll say is I did get a chuckle when Adam reveals himself there and says, "I am Adam, Prince of Eternia," and all that, because I got a kick out of it. And I know in the one movie script, that was how he was going to reveal himself as well. So I was like, that's a nod to that. And it's a nod to Filmation, which amused me, and 2000X technically.
Yep.
But then the other thing, though, is because of how Revelation ended, where the secret is out now, it really was weird to have that be the first time where it's like him and Orko are stuck in that skeleton hand. Diplomacy didn't work by the power of grace, and the champion and all that stuff. And I was like, it is really interesting to see that being loud and proud out there versus it being something you have to run away from while Orko's deflecting the situation. But other than that's the main things that I took away from that.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I really liked it. I thought it was a nice mirror to the opening of season 1 of Revelation, because you had the bad guy going into the good guy's base. This time you have the good guy going into the bad guy base, and I just thought that was a fun thing, and I just thought it was cool that it was actually Prince Adam, coming in, because getting to be the brave adventurer, like going out and doing something, and I liked it. Yeah, Tony Todd is great. I think my favorite moment in that whole opening fight sequence, and the first episode in Revelation had a pretty epic battle scene out in front of Grayskull too. So I thought that was a really nice offset. This one felt less, we're just going to drop a hero in here for 1 second. I mean, I know the heroes in that moment weren't in I'm getting ahead of myself, but it was cool that they focused on like 3 or 4 additional characters just in that moment, and not like everybody that they missed in the first season. But I think my favorite moment was when Orko reveals himself and Scareglow's just like, I just like that, Scareglow's not a character I had a huge attachment to as a kid. I think I don't even remember him until I started hanging out with you guys. Like, it just wasn't like a character I was aware of as a kid, but
that's how most of us were, to be quite honest.
Tony Todd's voice and just the way they portrayed him in Revelation, and that whole little beef with him and Orko, I thought was really nice to see just that little moment there. So
agreed, and I like that they're continuing that, and Orko is legit now. Like, he's reborn, he's the white, and that costume's really growing on me. The white robes with the red cape and everything.
I love that, actually.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Jesse. Like, seeing Prince Adam just actually being able to, like Shawn said, and you said, like, Prince Adam is able to just go and be him and not have to worry about hiding anymore. It's awesome. It's nice to see. Now that we've done the Revelation thing, it's like I'm happy to see where we go from here. So,
it's funny you say that about the Orko thing, because I was actually, while I was watching it, I was kind of going, man, I kind of wish Mondo would have done this version. I actually am liking it more than even the 2000X or the original. So, I really like the Orko design. Right off the bat, I felt like they were really taking some feedback from the first series and adjusting it, because first off, you have Adam go in there rather than He-Man. He's not trying to intimidate him. He really is trying diplomacy at first.
Yeah.
And I feel like Adam wasn't as. We'll kind of talk about it as the series goes on, but right off the bat, he doesn't seem as small, as kind of twerpy as defenseless as he did in Revelation to me. Like he feels, more comfortable with himself. He feels like he's able to do some things as Adam. So I thought that was a good adjustment there because, throughout Revelation, when I would see Adam, it's like, oh gosh, he's going to get his ass kicked or he's going to, something, he's going to have somebody save him and stuff. And no, he just walked in there and, was very confident. And so that was cool. Then the fact that they were addressing the whole, Clamp, Champ, and Fisto, not really being treated so well in Revelation, and you're there to get them out, I thought was really cool. Because it's like, okay, we understand we killed off 2 lovable characters very quickly, and so now we're going to go back and have the heroes fight to try to get them back. And then you start seeing the other cameos, and like Rio Blast was awesome. It was cool to see Buzz off, but Rio Blast was amazing. My only problem with this whole opening kind of sequence is like when they leave before Randor, kind of collapses on the ship. Like it really feels like they're celebrating as if they had some victory, but they didn't get Fisto and Clamp Champ back. Like they didn't win anything. So they
got their souls back,
but they didn't they're not there. There is no Preternia, so they're not there, and they're not alive. So,
but they're not being tortured by Scareglow anymore.
Correct, but they're still in limbo. So you didn't really,
best outcome there could have been.
And they didn't lose. I think best outcome would be they came back to life. That's what I thought they were doing. I thought they were actually going to bring them back to life. And so when you leave there and they're still not alive, and there's no Preternia, so they're not technically in heaven, I'm like, what the heck are you guys celebrating for? Like, what did you gain? So that part was a little frustrating for me. But overall, I thought, they do a good job of kicking the door open with an opening fight scene and just having a lot of cool action that looks badass. And they definitely accomplished that here. So,
yeah, I think it's interesting. Like you said, I think there was a lot of them taking the criticisms and kind of working with it. But at the same time, with the opening sequence, with it just being about their souls, they're also like, hey, but just so you know, we're not just going to retcon everything that happened. There still were consequences from Revelation. And so, would I have preferred them to pull out of there and Fisto and Clamp Champ are back with them? Yes, absolutely. That would have been awesome if just rescuing them from Subternia was they're back. But I also got to admire them for saying, no, there is going to be consequences there. There's no easy reset. So
yeah, I get that. For me, and I'm not you guys know I'm more of a Cosmic Enforcer lover. So I have no special attachment to Clamp Champ or Fisto, but I know some people that is those are their favorite characters. Yeah. And so for me, I kind of when the opening sequence started and they say why they're there in Subternia, I'm like, oh great. These people that are fans of these characters are going to get them back. I was like, they only got a couple minutes of them in Revelation and they were killed off and they weren't real happy about it. I'm happy for those people that they're going to get to see these guys again. And even if he weren't going to bring them back to life, it would have been cool if somehow they were able to join the fight in a spectral form or something. I don't know. I just thought it would have been
that would be
cool to do something a little extra for the fans of those characters. But minor gripe. Overall, I thought it was really good, and I did feel like this was the beginning of them making adjustments from feedback that they got. So.
Well, and also we forgot to mention here, Scareglow does talk about, he brings that up, with Preternia gone, there's no place for the souls to go. And I thought that was interesting because we had all speculated at the end of Revelation, because it was kind of ambiguous at the end there. Evil Lyn destroyed Preternia, but then there's that end sequence with Adam and Tila once Tila becomes a sorceress where they're let's set things right. And so there had been speculation about what exactly did they do there. And so that was also kind of clarifying that and, showing that, yeah, Preternia is not back, but maybe it's going to be, that's the storyline there, the Preternia storyline that we're going to get into in a minute here that I didn't see coming. Because it was left very ambiguous at the end of Revelation what exactly happened there. So, well, one last thing I want to bring up here, Jesse alluded to it before, but the voice changes. So one of the big ones that we've hit so far is Sarah Michelle Gellar is out as Tila, and Melissa Benoit, TV's Supergirl, is in. I love this change.
Way better.
I went on record at the end of Revelation that nothing against Sarah Michelle Gellar, but she was phoning in it as Tila. It just sounded like Sarah Michelle Gellar, the person, reading lines. And even off this first scene, it's like, yes, I was hoping it would be an upgrade, and it absolutely was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Sarah Michelle Gellar has like this, just I don't know, kind of tone about her voice, and I don't know how to say it without like just kind of like a jerky-ish tone. Like she just comes across very like talking down to folks. Yeah, and I think that led to a lot of the negative feelings towards Tila in the first series. Because it just. Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't great. This voice was much better. I felt like you could connect more with this character throughout this series. So,
and the flirting between He-Man and Tila is like, my sorceress, my champion, and I don't know how well you guys know the personal lives, but Chris Wood and Melissa Benoit are actually married in real life.
Oh, okay.
So they've got that easy to draw on there.
So this is basically foreplay, and then when they were done recording, they went and played champion and sorceress.
Hey, if you've got a champion,
power sword, right?
Remember, this is Legends of Grayskull, not Off-World.
Well, that's why I used power sword.
Making sure. And with the voice acting, I'm curious, and I haven't found an answer yet. I'm curious how they did this season, because there are definitely points in Revelation where, and obviously that recording was all done during like the height of COVID and everything, where you can tell like, okay, everybody is just recording their lines independent of each other, and it's getting mixed together. And so right off the bat here, I'm like, this feels like they were in the same room, if not at least like on, a Zoom call or whatever together. Like it felt like people were playing off each other this time. Definitely scenes in Revelation where I'm like, you guys have never actually said these lines to each other.
I can see that. It did feel more cohesive.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing. That's part of what makes Filmation and MYP great, is like they're literally standing in a room together, just, doing a radio play to them. Like, so I think that definitely helped here. All right, scene 2. All right, we arrive at Snake Mountain. It is now fully technoed out. Blue smoke everywhere. Shiny metal exterior. Excuse me. We go inside and we witness the brand new Skeletech, available now at a toy store near you in the Masterverse toy line from Mattel. And he is inducting Too Bad into the cult. He is injected with nanobots, and as Skeletor monologues about the error of his magical past and how he has fully embraced technology thanks to Motherboard. Motherboard reports to Hordak, who is pleased with the state of the Eternian conquest. He praises Motherboard as she has succeeded where others have failed, as she has brought Skeletor fully under Horde control. Hordak feels they will soon take over Eternia, and he dreams about his Horde ships covering the sky over Grayskull.
Okay, I'll jump in. I thought it was really cool to see Too Bad. First of all,
Yes.
that was pretty neat. I was interested to see where they were going to go with the what happened with Skeletor at the end of Revelation. So it was interesting to see. Not only has he changed, but he's really kind of taken to this. Like he's with them. Like it's not like this is being done to him. Like he's fully on board with the whole motherboard thing and the technology. And then there's that scene as he's walking out where motherboard says that he's done his mother proud and his father, and he kind of looks back, and then it fades out, and then you get introduced to Hordak, and you have that scene. And so that whole scene was really cool. I wasn't really sure where they were going to go with the whole tech thing from, finishing out last series and going into this one. I was like, I don't know kind of where this is going or how they're doing it, but rolling it into all as being part of a Horde plan was a really nice touch. I thought it really brought it together well.
I agree. The technical, I didn't hate it. I know a lot of people hated it in Revelation, but it definitely felt like the sore thumb where there was never any real resolution. But yeah, definitely here with it being the Horde plan and the technovirus, and it's like, okay, now we're back. Now it feels like it's rooted in Masters. Unfortunately, that does mean Triclops really took a back seat here, which was unfortunate to me because he is one of my favorite characters. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I get, again, 5 episodes, so we've got to get into this. And with Skeletor now, see, I took it differently, Curse. I didn't feel like he was necessarily on board. I felt that Motherboard made him on board. Especially with look back when she mentions Hordak, I just as him I want to say how much of an jerk I think Hordak is, but I literally can't because of this virus. So
just the speech that he was giving to Too Bad makes it feel like he is fully embracing this. But you're right, there is even then there's this feeling that maybe he's saying what he thinks they want to hear.
Yeah.
But he has Skeletor always has his own agenda. So yeah, there's definitely some of that in there, but he's saying the right things. Like in that moment, he's saying what they need him to say. So
I agree. And I know you guys haven't watched it, but I felt that this Skeletech was very much in the vein of the New Adventures cartoon, that Skeletor's personality, where he is a lot more, basically that whole cartoon series is Flog is in control of the mutants, and he's got to kind of manipulate Flog and everything. So it was really well done. And it still feels like Skeletor, and I really felt like Mark Hamill took it up this season. He's really embraced. There's definitely still traces of Joker. It's in the same family, but I felt it was a bit more its own thing.
See, I'm just
getting used to hearing it.
I totally disagree. I mean, we were talking about the voice acting change of Tila, and I felt like throughout this, he started falling more and more into the Joker as it went on. It's now for me, it's indistinct. It's like you can't tell the difference between the Joker and the Skeletor at this point. He's so Jokerized this character that you were talking about Sarah Michelle Gellar kind of being lazy with it. That's what I got from this. It felt like he's just totally giving in and saying, I'm just going to make this character Joker. And I didn't like. We're going to get into some other voices later that I thought did much better job. But yeah, it still kept pulling me out of the story, hearing the Joker constantly. So, yeah.
Shawn, Jesse,
you want to go next?
I I didn't believe Skeletor. At least I didn't believe he was sincere in the stuff he was, because he starts talking. He's like, "Did I blame this? Did I blame? No, I blamed myself." I'm like, "What? That's not Skeletor." I was like, if that's him, I was on that whole thing. It's because he's been corrupted and taken over, and like, like that's he's been programmed. I thought that Techno Cult was a lot creepier in Revelation. Like when they infect that kid, like in the second or third episode, whenever they reveal that, I was like, oh God, like that like made me super uncomfortable. This I didn't feel as weird about. Maybe because they were doing it to Too Bad, and he's a bad guy, and it wasn't just some random kid that just started screaming as they're like bashed or whatever. I thought that was an interesting take, to go, that's where those characters went in Revelation. So, I did like this scene because it's like you said, it's Skeletor. He's always got his own plan. And, there's something going on, his own agenda. And I'm somewhere between the two of you guys on the voice. Like I didn't think it was like amazing. I did feel it was a little more distinct.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I definitely get what you're saying, Curtis. Like, I mean, it's Mark Hamill doing that kind of voice.
Yeah, it's in the family. Like,
but I feel like it was distinct enough. But I like that he kind of toned down from it felt like in Revelation, it was a little over the top. I feel a lot of the stuff in that first series was over the top. Like we've only got 5 episodes, 10 episodes to give the fans everything they've been wanting for the past 30 years. So we're just going to pour it all in one giant garbage cookie. I'm not calling it garbage. I'm talking like,
you heard it here, folks.
The cookies where you throw
Jesse Arnold calls Revelation garbage.
No, isn't that what they call those cookies or the pancakes or whatever? Where you throw like all
call
the
it everything cookie or everything bagel,
kitchen
not
sink
garbage.
Cookie.
Yeah. But that's all right.
I wasn't calling it garbage because it was bad. I was calling it because they threw everything they had into one thing. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I liked the whole motherboard sequence, the way they teased that at the end of Revelation. It had me hooked. I'm like, all right, what are they going to do with Skeletor? Because like, if real Skeletor is trapped inside his own mind, is there going to be like a duel between like the personalities in there, or him fighting off, so it had me intrigued with what was going to happen.
Agreed.
Yeah. I kind of missed the creepiness that was Motherboard in Revelation, because with them doing this to Too Bad in this one, it almost felt mundane now. But when they were doing it in Revelation, especially with Skeletor, you legitimately were like, I shouldn't be watching this moment. This really feels uncomfortable to see this, And in this case, it's just like, okay, we did that. Too Bad's done too. Okay, fine, we're moving on, And it was almost there's no pomp and circumstance to the moment. That even the music wasn't quite there, like they had Motherboard and all that in the first one, and that felt lackluster. But what got me here, so we were speaking about the voice for Teela. The voice for Motherboard was like a freaking time travel device for me. Hearing her talk in this, it literally felt like I was in the theater watching the 87 movie on that summer when it was out. And just everything, like, she has not lost that Evil Lynn voice that she used then, Meg Foster.
Yep. And
she's a welcome addition to this, because I just, like, that's lore. To me, that's Masters lore versus here's William Shatner or here's John Delancey. It's like those guys are Star Trek. That's it, and that's fine. They work well as Star Trek. But when you have Meg Foster showing up, or it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's my childhood that I'm listening to now, and she was part of the weird part where I was accepting of all of it before all of a sudden I accepted none of it with the New Adventures. So yeah.
Nah, she did a great job. She's a perfect voice for Motherboard. Great blast from the past. And honestly, Keith David as Hordak, like I'm like, all right, this I can get behind this. He still had a bit of like the snorts and stuff, but it was more just kind of it felt real natural with him, just like part of his breathing and not as comical. I know that always drove Shawn nuts, and whenever we review a Filmation episode, but
when you see that face and you see that nose, you figure he's going to snort sometimes. And that doesn't bother me. And Keith David did it perfectly. But when you have it where every other thing is all the time, I'm like, oh my God, just stop. It just drove me nuts. When I was a kid and I couldn't accept it, you knew that it was overblown. So yeah.
Have we already started to talk about that fight scene on Hordak's ship, or is that not?
That's a different.
No, that's a different episode.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
different episode.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
this is just she just reports to him. And
Gotcha.
He's just happy.
Gotcha.
Happy Hordak.
And I mean,
the voice was really good. I felt like maybe because it's that voice, I don't know, but it did like made me feel a little terrified, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, like it was, you know, especially when you first approach him and he's got his back turned and all you're seeing is like his hand and his fingers tapping. And then he spins around, and you know, something about that voice, like, okay, this is a legit terrifying character in this series. So yeah.
Well, the thing about that, to go along with what you're talking about, is like Mark Hamill's Skeletor almost reminds me of how my brain gets when I have too much going on. His voice is like an ADD villain voice, and it's like everything has to be done in the craziest amount of speeds and the crazy amount of energy. And when you get Keith David in there and he has this gravatus in his voice, he's got the tone. I love that being a counterbalance to Skeletor in this. And I love that all he has to do is say one or two lines and your blood runs cold going, I'm scared for Eternia because this guy wants it now. And it's like with Skeletor, there's this, well, he's this version of Skeletor, but he still has some humor to him. This guy's like the freaking Grim Reaper about to invade. This is no good. You can't deal with this guy. You can't rationalize with him.
Yeah, and that's part of the whole Joker thing for me too. It's not just the voice, but the way that he plays Skeletor. It does feel very chaotic, crazy villain, you know, which is very much Joker. Whereas the contrast, like you said, you then get to Hordak, and it's like very slow, methodical, calm. Like nothing's rattling him. Like he's just, you know, like it's there's something terrifying about somebody that is that calm about, you know, taking over universes and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, and we'll get to the reference. Yeah, that's like next episode. But like you get right off the bat, like, you know, like you said, Skeletor's going now. I need the crown now. And Hordak's just like, yeah, I'll pop into Eternia once every 50 years.
Yeah.
I think
we lost you there for a second, Dooch.
No, Hordak's the type of villain who's like, I'm just gonna pop up like every once in a while and rattle the cage, test your defense. No, Grayskull's still strong. All right, I'll see you guys in a couple centuries. All right, what's going on now?
He's definitely a long game guy.
Yeah, he's not worried about anything. He's just he's not even trying anything. He's got Motherboard sitting in Snake Mountain, slowly assimilating and, you know, amassing these followers, which is growing and growing. And it's like, yeah, we're good. And so by the time anybody even knows what's going on, it's going to be too late. And that's his plan. Like, and that's what I love. Eternity War, which, you know, was a fantastic comic series, in my opinion. And definitely, you know, this whole saga takes a lot of cues from that. You know, Rob David was a big part behind the comic and this series. And that was one of the things they did, you know, because coming from Filmation where, you know, Hordak and Skeletor, you had kind of the magic and technology, but at the end of the day, like, they were the same villain, basically. Like, I mean, Hordak had the bigger army and everything, but at the end of the day, they were just that villain. And ever since Eternity War, with playing up Hordak, you're really playing up the Horde aspect. And he's not about even quality really, but just if I have enough Hordesmen, I can conquer anything. I'm just going to overwhelm you and I'm going to outlast you. So, it's a lot of fun seeing that. And I like that dichotomy where it's like they're not the same villain, and it's refreshing, and Hordak is just menacing.
Yeah.
All right. Scene 3. Back at the palace, Adam is shocked to learn that his father is dying of organ failure, and he has known for weeks. Mendor, the royal physician, has not been able to find a cure, and Randor is out of time. His last wish was to spend his remaining time fighting alongside his son and the other heroes, and forbade Duncan and Marlena from telling Adam. Adam pleads to Tila for her to save Randor as she did for him previously. Randor will not allow it, stating that death comes for everyone, even for kings. He said the thing. He said the thing, Shawn.
He said the thing. He said it.
Tila heads back to attempts to resurrect Preternia. She had been trying and failing for a while, and it was bad enough. As she talks to Orko, it reveals that it was bad enough knowing that all these heroic souls were lost and drifting out there, but she cannot stand the fact that Adam has to let his father die, knowing that his soul will just fade away forever. Orko suggests that she seek help from her mother. Jesse, you haven't kicked us off yet. Go.
I'll go first. Again, this is one of those things that I felt they did in the first season as well. They rushed some stuff to make things happen. I think they handled it better in this one. The weight and all of that, like I felt it, but I feel it's like, oh man, I just kind of like got on board with Randor like at the end of the last series, like enjoyed that he was having this stuff with his son. And my headphones are about to die. Just kind of rushing into this like in the first episode just felt a little bit
but that's life, man. You just
No.
never know. You never know how much time you got. So
I know. It just, but like the fact that they're like tying this up in like the second scene with the heroes, like, but the only thing like actual plot wise, I didn't like that he was like, you can't be He-Man and Adam. And
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Didn't they talk about that in this scene?
They will. Not this scene. Not yet.
I'm sorry.
You're good. These last couple scenes blend together really well. But I wanted to split it up.
It was good. I liked it. Like they got the emotions there. Like I said, it just felt a little rushed, but they got there. I thought it was good. I don't know if because I didn't know it. I don't know if he was new to this episode, but like when they called the doctor Mendor, I kind of was like,
that was actually, he originally appeared in the DC Comics Eternity War. That was his first appearance.
So. I'm like, why am I laughing? Like that's not any more ridiculous than any other name.
It works so well.
It fits perfectly. I'm like, but I like that. It was so yeah.
Yeah, I agree. At first I was like, I'm like, that's it. Like he doesn't even get a heroic death. It's just organ failure. But then like the more doing, I'm like, no, that's like that makes it hit harder. Really. Like you can't even, Adam doesn't even have anything to be mad at, right? Because if you go, Scareglow injured him. All right, then it's revenge on Scareglow. It's a retribution thing. Like whatever. But just having this be that just outside uncontrollable force, it's the Pa Kent thing. It's like, Superman can save anybody from anything except for his father from a heart attack. And it's humbling and it hits you out of nowhere. And unfortunately, that's just the way life goes sometimes.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, watching Tila and her struggles, and you get the feel that some time has passed. She's getting her powers. There's even talk that she's already visited her mother from time to time. She's trying not to go to her for everything. She makes that comment to Orko. And again, the animation when she's calling down the Zor magic and trying to resurrect Preternia, and you got the lion central tower like forming Cave of Wonders style. I'm just like, it's just so damn beautiful to look at. Like, I am in. And again, this is the point where we see like, okay, the lack of Preternia is going to be a thing here. This is going to be a season long arc. So, and at this point, I'm just like, I'm in. Like, let's see where we're going.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jesse on this. Like, you're doing this season across 5 episodes instead of across 10, and so you've got to truncate some of that. I get it, and we've talked about some of this with like the Marvel series. Like, it's finding that sweet spot. Sometimes you have too many episodes where it feels like you're just throwing shit in there to kind of stretch it out. Whereas this felt like it's like, okay, we just finished this fight with, in Subternia, and now the king's dying. We don't really know why. We don't know what's going on. And, we're going to get to it in a second, but then he's dead. It's just like this whole thing where it's like boom, 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 with not a whole lot of explanation or, time to process feelings and stuff like that. So it did to me feel there's only 2 times throughout this series where I was like, that's pretty rushed, but I think it's pretty rushed because there's only 5 episodes. This was the first of the 2 for me. One thing that I really did like, though, this is kind of continuing from the first one, like, I am liking Adam more in this series, and I'm liking how they're portraying Adam. Like, he is more of a man. He's not a boy. And, just some things like simple animation. And this, I'm just going to throw my phone up here real quick. But like in this scene right here, you can see like Adam is standing next to Tila. Tila is actually looking up at Adam. In Revelation, Tila was significantly taller than Adam and looking down upon him. And he looked, it was like they made him as if he was a child. Yeah. Adam is not a child here. So I just those little subtle differences in the animation made a huge difference for me. So yeah, I mean, I still at this point, I'm very much liking where the story is going, but I'm like, this feels a little rushed, but I'm still along for the ride. I see the changes that you're making, and I'm ready for it. So,
yeah, for me, Randor's whole thing almost made me think of episode 3. She's dying of a broken heart thing. It really felt like that. As much as I hate the way they did it in episode 3, this felt a lot less crappy. But I still like when they went there, I was like, really? Like, we didn't have time. Adam doesn't have time. How the hell does that line up in any way, shape, or form? And I think I went in with preconceived ideas of it would have been nice to say we knew he was sick when he got into the battle suit, but he wanted to go anyway or something. Yeah. Like show him coughing or something at least to give you a hint like, that's weird. Why is he coughing or whatever? And then when they go here, it's not so all of a sudden like bam, all of a sudden he's dying and organ failure and all this stuff, which for me, I was like, that's still an odd, like, how does that work? And they can't stop. Okay. I don't know. I really like
it's the human. It's the freaking human bringing the the common cold to Eternia.
Basically,
there it is.
just
It just
took
took 20 years.
it
Wow.
took 20 years, and
It's
then
all
finally,
Marlena's fault.
It's the Earth flu.
Marlena's over in the corner, like, I get the whole castle. This is gonna be great. We're gonna have a party. But the one part about this that actually I don't know why. The first time I saw this, it didn't even register until the scene with Tila trying to resurrect Preternia. And I was like, oh shit. Like that really shocked me more than even Randor. It was the whole, oh shit, he doesn't have anywhere to go. This is actually a really cool ticking time bomb for the story to deal with this. And I like that she's taking it just as hard as Adam, but she's taking it hard in her way of feeling responsibility for what she can handle. And Adam's taking it hard in this, I'm losing my father, and I'm also having to figure out my place in this new without my father life that I'm about to have and all that. So on either side of it, the story implications are really interesting. It is really weird that just out of nowhere, Randor's just, okay, we're going to just off him at this point. But
yeah, it does feel
yeah.
like she has guilt, like that
Yes.
she hasn't been able to, up until this point, bring Preternia back and give him a place to go for, his sake, for Adam's sake, for not only for them, but the other people that are out there kind of as lost souls right now. So yeah, she is definitely taking it very hard. One other thing I forgot to mention too, the whole secret aspect of it. I mean, we spent, Revelation kind of dealing with, Adam keeping the secret from Tila and his dad about being He-Man, and now, his dad is been sick and keeping the secret from them. And it's, I don't know, at some point you would think that they would go, hey, these secrets really haven't been good for us. We should make sure that we're being open and honest with one another. But just kind of
Adam kept that from me for 20 years. I'm keeping this for him for 2 weeks. I got left.
Right.
The thing,
how's it feel, son?
The one thing I liked about that, though, and it might not be this scene, but I'm going to say it here anyway since we're bringing it up, is there is that line where Randor says, if I would have told you, you would have done everything in your power as He-Man to stop this, and that's not important compared to the other stuff that we need to do. And that moment was enough for me. It really was like, with great power comes great responsibility. Or in Star Trek, they do the, for the good of all or the good of the one kind of a thing. And I do appreciate that message there, where it's like, could he have expended all of his energy to find a cure? Yes. Would Eternia have needed him for other reasons? Absolutely. Which are you going to do?
Shawn, you'll appreciate this in Man of Steel, when Kevin Costner just like puts up his hand.
Yeah.
like the whole, like, I know you could save me right now, but don't. That's what it felt like.
But see that.
Well, go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say that's the thing to me. It's like, so, like I said before, if it's an outside force, if it's somebody who does this, then it becomes a revenge story. If he doesn't die right away, then it becomes a how can I save him story. And with it only being 5 episodes, we don't have time for that. So it's like it's story-wise, he has to die here. Otherwise, the story is about him dying, when really that's not. The story is about what comes next. Where Adam's going from here. What's his place in the universe? When.
I will go on record as saying, thankfully, He-Man doesn't have super speed that would have maybe prevented that problem in the first place.
All right, scene 4.
All right. Sorry, didn't mean to trigger Shawn.
Randor says his final goodbyes to Adam and Marlena. He shares his love with both of them, but not before warning Adam that he will not be able to be the world's champion and king, as that is too much for any man to bear, even a He-Man. Right before he passes, he mentions the losses that he has felt throughout his life, including a brother he mentions that both Adam and Marlena seem surprised by. Meanwhile, Tila gets guidance from her mother, whose spirit is trapped in Grayskull with there being no Preternia to go to. Our sorceress talks to her daughter and reveals that she will continue to fail as long as she only taps into Zor magic to try and resurrect the towers, as they were created using the magic of all three old gods, Zor, Ka, and Havoc. If Tila is to resurrect the towers, she will need all three of these magics. Unfortunately, snake magic has been lost for eons. Sorceress guides her to the last place that it was practiced, Dark Smoke. At Randor's funeral, which is also Adam's coronation, Adam delivers a touching eulogy, recounting a billow bike that his dad made for him, yet he never rode it. As Adam laments that he will never be half the man or king his father was, a voice cries out, suggesting that he not accept the crown then. A man appears from the crowd who claims to be the rightful ruler of Eternos, Prince Keldor. Dun, 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 dun. Shawn, kick us off.
I'll do it. So I was pleasantly surprised by how emotional the death, like the speech at Randor's funeral, hit me like a ton of bricks, and I did not think that was going to happen with this show. Because honestly, little personal anecdote. It reminded me of when the '87 movie happened. That summer, my dad was building an addition onto our house, and he had all this extra wood just laying around. And at one point, I showed him the William Stout pictures. There was a magazine, a souvenir magazine of the Masters movie. And I showed him some of the pictures, and then he drew one of the swords and cut it out with a bandsaw for me, and that was my power sword that summer. Wow. And so he built me like 2 or 3 power swords. He built me a Conan one. He built me one that looked more like the movie version. He built me the one that looked like the William Stout version. And so I'm listening to this speech that Adam's giving, and it hit me like when my dad did that for me, and it had to do with Masters on top of all that. So I was really impressed with how that all played out. And the whole, I mean, yes, even though I'm not a big Filmation guy, the Dark Smoke part, the fact that they even said you have to tie together Zor magic, the Ka magic, and when they said Havoc, I was like geeking out for the CGI show right there, because that's Rob David probably putting that in there, and I love it. And I'm still a fan that that's something in play even in this series. So yeah. Curtis, you
it looked like he was about to talk. He was moving his head around.
I'm just waiting. Like there's no structure here, and I'm getting lost, and it's
There's
bugging
not.
the
You just
shit out of
jump
me.
in.
Yeah, I want to round robin or something. Okay. First thing on the whole can't be champion and king thing. I agree. I understand what he's saying. Like you can't devote everything that you need to both. Right. Anything that you're trying to be great at, you have to put time to. Like if you want to be a great musician, you have to put the time to it. If you want to be a great artist, you have to put the time to it, whatever it is. So I get what he's saying. That being said, we've got this character in classics and throughout that we've heard of it, which is King He-Man. And that's where I thought this was going, was like a King He-Man. And I really wanted to see King He-Man. And, maybe we'll talk as this goes on. Maybe if there's more series down the road, maybe we get a King He-Man. But so that part kind of irritated me at first. But then I was like, I get it. He's right. Like, you got to make a choice here.
You can't be dropping everything like, oh, we have all these royal decrees to do. Oh, sorry, there was an explosion over there. I got to go take care of that. Yeah, I might get sent off to Tranus for a couple weeks. That happens sometimes. Like, you just.
I get the logistics of it. It's just, I mean, but we are living in a fantasy universe, and I was like, oh, I hope this is going towards a King He-Man. So a little sadness on there, but I get it. I was very happy to see the sorceress, our sorceress.
Yes.
And the fact that she just not gone, because that was something I was really, I was not happy when she got killed off in the first series. But the fact that she's there and can still give advice and stuff, I thought was cool. And I also like how they've begun this kind of two adventures thing, like now, Tila is kind of going this way, working on this thing, and Adam's working on this other thing. And both things are important. It's not like one supersedes the other or one is having to protect the other one or anything like that. Nobody's better. It's like, I have to go on this adventure. You have to go on that adventure. And I like that. I feel like throughout the rest of the series, that works out really well. And then at the end, the whole, you said Keldor arrives, and I just got to say, like, I didn't pay attention to any of this stuff leading up to it. I had no idea who the casting was. Yep. I had no idea what the story was. I didn't even watch the trailer or whatever. I just tried to stay away from it.
Right.
So that voice comes out, and I'm like, man, that's an awesome voice. Like, I freaking love this guy. Like, I'm like, who is that? And it wasn't until the next episode we get into it and he gets a little bit more dialogue.
That's when I realized it.
I'm like, wait a minute, that's Shatner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say, like, I talked about the Mark Hamill and how I just like felt like he fell into this comfort zone with the whole Joker thing. I think Shatner was freaking amazing. Like, I think out of all the voice acting that was done in this series, like, that's the one for me that I was like, yes, I love it. I want more of it. It was freaking awesome. He did a kick-ass job. So I have no idea how old Shatner is at this point, but he's got to be up there. But man, he killed it.
I want to see somebody said he's in his 90s right now. So that's amazing.
He will turn 93.
There you go.
Yeah. He killed it.
He did not set, like Alan Oppenheimer played Mossman in the first in Revelation, and you could definitely, like, you wouldn't be able to tell that was Alan Oppenheimer the same way versus when the minute you hear Shatner's voice in this, you're like, no freaking way. Like, that's just nuts.
I honestly did not know who it was at first. I was just like, whoever this voice actor is, he's freaking killing it.
Even I didn't place it until the next episode where because he's only got the two lines at the end of the episode. And it was one of those things where it's like William Shatner, he was playing. And a lot of people thought he was going to end up playing Gwildor because, Gwildor through the toy line got revealed early on. Even I really thought they were going to do Shatner as Gwildor. So yeah, this was a nice turn, and we'll definitely get into that more next episode.
Yeah, I know you don't watch other things until you do your review, but I was watching Ted Biaselli talk the other night, and he actually mentioned that a lot of people were saying that Shatner was going to be Gwildor, and he was just like, he knew that, like, Ted Biaselli is the one that actually voices Gwildor.
Yeah.
And so he was like, oh, they think Shatner's Gwildor? Okay, well, let's just run with this. Like, we'll just let them think that.
Right.
And so, like, he was happy to let everybody just think that Shatner was going to be Gwildor. And then, not so much. So.
Yeah, this was a heck of a scene here, and big shout out here. Another voice actor change from first season to second season. Alicia Silverstone, who I didn't technically mind, but she didn't get a lot to do in Revelation. So Alicia Silverstone played Marlena in Revelation. In Revolution, she was replaced by Gates McFadden of Star Trek: The Next Generation fame. And
she was amazing.
She was, and it's like I didn't mind Alicia, but knowing where this story goes, I'm really glad they switched her up because I don't think Alicia could have pulled it off.
No.
And she doesn't have a lot of lines in this, but when she does, they're delivered very well.
Yeah, it's got to be right. I mean, with all the emotions going on here, all that, and she's just be prepared. Like she's got some stuff coming up here. Like Marlena plays an integral part, if not a large part here. So, it was a refreshing change. Lots of emotion, and then as somebody who had been following it, Shawn and I did the comic leading up to it, and we broke down the trailer, and with them stating very clearly, I mean, Revelation had a whole prequel comic about it, that Skeletor in this continuity is the demon from another dimension. For them to then pull out Keldor and go, yeah, we also have Randor's brother Keldor, it's like, okay, where are we going with this? And again, surprise character, wasn't announced, beforehand. And I'm like, I'm sitting here going, well, it can't be Skeletor. So what are we going to do with this Keldor? And we'll definitely get into that next episode. But it's, even as a lifelong fan who followed everything, that moment took me by surprise, where I'm like, okay, we're going here. But since he's not tied into Skeletor's origin, it's like, okay, let's see how they do this.
All right.
Yeah, that was cool. I don't even think I realized it was William Shatner until this conversation. I just hit skip. It's as soon as the credits would hit, I would just hit skip. So like I never paid attention to the names. I can thinking on it now. I'm like, oh, of course it was. Like, so I don't have a lot to say about that aspect, and I think he did a fantastic job. It was surprising to see Keldor because even again, I'm not as deep into this stuff as you guys and the lore and the history, but like I knew the connection there and everything. I was like,
right,
wait, what? I was like, okay, like they did a really good job in this first episode of really like giving some good hooks into where is this going to go, which is what a first episode should do. So like major props to that. Yeah, the like Shawn was saying, the whole speech, it didn't hit me in the same way, but I thought I was like, okay, we're going back. It's just this random little story. It's not some grand adventure. It's not some big epic, they may take our lives, they'll never take our freedom kind of a speech. It was very a son reminiscing on his father, and I thought that was really beautiful and really well done. And I think to spend as much time as they did on that speech in that scene was really good. Like that's one of the things I think that offset some of my disappointment with how rushed some of the earlier stuff was. It's like, okay, you paid this off here. It's not like Princess Leia watches Alderaan blow up in Star Wars and we never talk about it again.
No, she's comforting Luke an hour later, like, oh, you've had a hard day.
Which that works, but
real quick question though: do we know what a billow bike is? Have we ever seen that? Is that something they just made that up on the spot? Okay, I didn't know if that was something from like a comic book or from lore or something that I was like, I have no idea what that is.
Well,
but okay.
I'll put a 99. I'm 99% sure that is just a thing they made up here.
Okay,
and I swear, maybe 80% sure that story is actually from Kevin Smith's life.
Okay,
I feel like I've heard him tell that story before.
Okay,
about the bike and being made for him, and he was embarrassed about it. Like I can't back that up other than a vague memory. I probably should have looked it up, but I feel like that was listed from at least partly from his personal life.
Gotcha. Sorry to interrupt there, Jesse. I was just like, what the
That's
heck's a billow bike? Okay, go ahead.
But the whole thing about, you can't be He-Man and King, like the only thing in that speech when he was saying that to him that was like, I was like, okay, I can kind of, he's like, well, you can't just go running off on an adventure. And I'm like, but that, and maybe this is just my lack of investment or lack of understanding, but like, to me, that's never what He-Man was just, I'm going to go abandon everything and go on an adventure. Sorry, I hit my mic. I think having Adam being able to lead the people as, a politician and in battle when necessary, again, like Curtis was saying, it's a fantasy world where things can happen, yeah, I didn't dig with that moment until, like I said, I was like, you just can't run away. Like, I don't think if he was He-Man and King, he would just be like, well, I'm bored of signing these documents today. Let's go down some trees in the forest to practice my sword skills. It's not.
The thing is, for instance, like 2000X Randor was way more a man of action than Filmation Randor ever was.
Yeah.
And since that's the way that they went with this, as hey, we're following the coattails of what Filmation was about, that Randor was always going to be that Randor. But if it would have also included like the 2000X, he wouldn't have been able to have that speech. But the other thing too, again, the condensing things, because you get 5 episodes and trying to make stuff happen. Him doing that was just automatically giving Adam, here's an obstacle that I have to figure out how to overcome by the end of these 5 episodes on top of everything else. So it kind of worked for me on that level of how do you make it work? But at the same time, it's specifically like this Randor is that version. And if it was any other version of Randor, especially 2000X, he wouldn't have even had that argument because he is that kind of a king in that show.
Well, that's another part that bugged me with that was that, like, throughout all the different iterations of Prince Adam, like Filmation, 2000X, whatever, like we've seen where, Randar's kind of disappointed in him at times that he's not more of a man of action. Like he's not going and doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And even where Teela is training him to be ready to do this stuff. And it's like, so like through all the iterations that we've seen, it's like Adam getting trained and trying to, the expectation is that he's ready to be not the champion, but a champion, one of the, people that are going to defend, this world. And then now it's like, okay, now you need to, don the robes and hang out. And this is right after Randor just went on a freaking mission with them to Saturnia and was in a suit fighting. It's like, it just seems very hypocritical where it's like, hey, I'm able to go on adventures and stuff, but you're not allowed to.
You're able to go on some adventures, some planned missions that you've allowed time for, but not just like said, so he can definitely be Eternos champion, but that's not who He-Man is. He-Man is Eternia's champion. And so if you're going to be He-Man, you got to be able to be everywhere, wherever you're needed, however long you're needed. That doesn't work. Yes, he would.
I get it. It just seems a little hypocritical.
Because of the way it ends with Keldor showing up, like I feel like they could have set that up better than like if Randor would have said something. He's like, there may be a day where you have to choose between being King and He-Man, make it a choice. And he's like, oh, Keldor's here, I don't have to make the choice anymore, which is what happens. Spoiler alert.
Wow.
I mean, it's literally, that's literally what he says. That's literally what Keldor says. Is like, then don't be king. It's like, we've, the whole thing of like, you can't, that if this was like an 80s kids cartoon, this show, and it was like teaching a lesson of like, you can't be two things that contradict, I get it, but like this was made largely for adults who grew up with this stuff. We can take a little bit of complexity in this thing and
Do you think?
I just feel like it was set up too black and white, especially Curtis was saying. Like, he just went on a mission in an armor, knowing he was dying and not telling, keeping secrets about a brother, keeping secrets about his health, and then it felt a little, again, just convenient just to set up the plot point. But that's, we're super dissecting this, and
Absolutely, that's what we do. Do you think it would have helped you guys if they had done a little bit of a time gap, like had Randor pass, maybe go 6 months later and like show Adam struggling, like, having him be overwhelmed with the duties of king and stuff?
I don't think so. I think it's what Jesse said. Like if Randor would have just said it as a, hey, this is being king is a massive responsibility. Being the champion is a massive responsibility. There's probably going to come a day that you're not going to be able to do both. I think if he had said it like that, I'm cool. The fact that he made it black and white, like you can't do both, is where I'm like, okay, it's not that black and white, but so I think that was it. I don't think it needed more time or any of that. Like, that didn't bother me. It was just the black and white nature of it. I mean, we just got done with Revelation where they told, Tila, like, if you're going to be the sorceress, you can't leave Castle Grayskull. And she's like, well, screw it. I'm doing it anyway. It's kind of like, like you break down
that doesn't
those.
turn out badly for anybody.
Well, I'm just saying, like, when you have two choices listed in front of you, sometimes you can make a third. And just making it black and white was the part where I was like, I don't know about that, but okay, I'm still along for the ride, but yeah,
because that's a trope in so many superhero things. Like, you have to choose Gwen Stacy or the kids on the train or whatever, like you have to choose one of these things,
obviously.
In the one horrible Batman, are you going to save Robin or I don't even remember who the other option is. Is it Batgirl?
I think it's Batgirl. Yeah,
he's got two. Riddler's got the two people, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to save both."
It's from your movie that you like so much. The Batman Forever. Or
it's just like whenever you give
Batgirl wasn't in Batman Forever.
Batman and Robin. It's the next one.
So it was Nicole Kidman or whoever the
Alicia Silverstone was Batgirl. You always save Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah.
Except for
after her
Revolution.
being Marlena, I don't know if I would do that.
I'd still save her.
I was gonna say that.
Whenever you present that, I just feel like that's a trope that gets done too often. It's like, well, they're going to come up with a third option.
I also feel like for me, the one thing that saves me a little bit on this is that Randor has underestimated Adam his whole life. Like, he didn't realize that he was doing this stuff as a prince and being He-Man. So he's always underestimated him. And I feel like that's part of this as well. Who knows? Like, we may get another series down the road and maybe he says, Randor is wrong. I can do both of these, and whatever. We'll see.
I mean, there is a character in Masters lore that kind of proved that. King Grayskull. He literally is the blueprint for He-Man. Whether you go with the Revelation version or you go with the 2000X version, that's a character who he didn't let one thing say, "Oh, I can't be that, but I can only be this," because he just did both. And it worked. And I mean, personally, it's like he doesn't know Adam's story. You know what I mean? Like, Randor only just found stuff out. He doesn't know how he's never seen how Adam has done this for this long. He probably could pull it off. It's just him being who he is. It's such a black and white concept, the same as it's almost that generational thing of, okay, that generation only sees these are the two options you get. There is no C. You only have A or B. Yep. And then the new generation goes, but I could do this then. And then the older generation is like, you son of a,
the more we're talking about this, the more I'm okay with this whole scene, because it does feel to me like that's just something that an old man that's dying, set in his ways, believes. But that doesn't necessarily make it true. So
exactly.
Yeah, I'm good. We're cool. Right. Thanks for talking me through that trauma.
And just remember, folks, today we learned that if you're on your deathbed, choose your words very wisely or Curtis will be upset with you.
Look, if this was like an actual real person dying, I would be a lot less harsh on what they were saying.
Yeah.
Good to know.
There was a room full of people writing this and making this, spending a lot of time like that. That's the only reason I can nitpick this.
It's like they're like, Jesse.
I can guarantee you my dying words are going to be something like, wait,
Jesse's gonna have it scripted out.
my dying words are going to be like, don't put the Kool-Aid in the rice. And
remember to turn off the oven.
I hope I'll have the wherewithal to be like, the money's hidden in the. Spoiler alert, they ain't no money. I spent all that.
I was going to say, that's when it turns into the Mel Brooks movie and I pretend to be dead and come back to life. Just kidding. There's no money.
All right, guys, that's episode 1. Let's break it down. Power sword rating. So we've got 3 power swords. That's the absolute best of the best. No flaws. We got 2 power swords. That's above average. Very good. Very enjoyable. We got 1 power sword. That is a good episode. Then we've got the Cosmic Enforcer. That's right down the middle. That's neutral. Neither good nor bad. Then we got our Havoc Staffs. 1 Havoc Staff is bad. 2 Havoc Staffs are worse. 3 Havoc Staffs should be locked away in Subternia forever. We'll start with Jesse. Jesse, what is your power sword rating? And this is He-Man, so there are half power swords if you need them.
Okay. I'm going to give it 1.5. I was going to say 2, but if I can do half, I'm going to say 1.5 because couple nitpicky things, but it's a first episode. They're setting up a lot of stuff, and the hooks that they gave me to pull me further into the series, which I was going for anyway.
Right.
But they're like, I'm like, okay, I like that it's like, I don't know where this is going to go. Maybe I have an idea, but I'm hooked. So 1.5.
Curtis.
I'm going to go ahead 2 power swords. I really liked it. Like Jesse said, I had a few nitpicky things, but I felt like they came out of the gate swinging, and they did a good job of, in this episode and other episodes, really leaving each episode making you want more. So,
Shawn?
Yeah, I gotta agree too. As in 2 power swords. This nearly made me go, wow, I'm just gonna stick with this and not worry about what we watched for 10 episodes previously. This is the beginning of something I actually want to see, and it feels right. And the journey that they're setting up here actually has me invested in only 20-25 minutes, however long the episode was.
Yeah, I gotta agree. 2 power swords, definitely well above average. The hooks were great. I wanted to start the next episode immediately, and then blindsiding me with the Keldor thing. It's like, and that's something Shawn and I have talked a lot about on the show. The CGI series, I really love that because there were a lot of points in there where I didn't know where the story was going because it could be anything. And so to have them, that's something I didn't think could be done in a more mainline continuity of Masters for them to blindside me like that. So yeah, 2 power swords all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to say goodbye for now, but we will be back soon with episode 2 of Masters of the Universe Revolution, and that would be Ascension.
Wait,
all right.
That's wrong.
No. Until next time, guys, go hit the double thumbs up on Netflix and keep watching it. Later.
Oh, come on.